Hey, good people, this is your NI-Don back with another YouTube reflection. And this is a personal journal for contemplative people looking to think, grow, and have impact in the world. So, hey, I am here to do a YouTube response to the person that I call INTJ-Jon. You know him as Just Call Me John, and I call him INTJ-Jon. And I think he did an episode in the last, or a video in the last week entitled 3 Tips for INTJs improving their social life. It's definitely a video for INTJs about improving their social life. And there are 3 tips. And as usual, when I do a YouTube response, I'm not here to regurgitate or summarize the content. I'll give you the name in the show notes, and you can go and make your own notes. But I'm here to do a reflection, as this is a personal journal where I process my inner and my outer worlds. And you all know I do so by using personality theory and the 2 theories that I use the most, the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. And I do push those 2 systems together, identifying as an INTJ-8. And so in my INTJ-8 self, I'm listening to his content and I'm having some musings, and I'm here to share some of them with you. Before I continue, I just want to let you know this project is unedited and it's unscripted. If you want to know more about it or me, feel free to go to my website at yournidom.wordpress.com. Now, I'm going to say that this is probably my 4th or 5th video response to INTJ-Jon. And I believe it may be more because I have several videos I have not uploaded yet because it's just a process. Because I do this recording as an audio recording and I have to convert it to a video. And so there's just a delay. So I have some responses to his content that I haven't uploaded yet. I say all of that to say that I have found his material worth my time to listen. Honestly, he's given me a lot of life as an INTJ because he shows up differently. I show up differently as an INTJ. I do not represent what I would call your stereotypical INTJ. I recently read someone calling it the archetypal INTJ. Either way, I don't represent that. And my theory is that most INTJs, as represented in YouTube land or the internet, are INTJ 5s, pushing those Myers-Briggs together with the Enneagram. And so I'm an INTJ 8, so my affect is different, but my cognitive wiring is not. And then I think INTJ-Jon is not INTJ 5. He could be, but I don't see. I suspect I've been trying to figure it out. I'm gonna guess he's either 7, 1, or 6, and I might be completely off, but that's my guess. But either way, he doesn't show up as stoic in his presentation as other INTJs, and I love that. Now, how he is when he's not recording, I don't know. I'm not speaking to that. All of that's just relevant to just let you know that I really, really love his content, but I also love his affect. And honestly, I just think he has a greater degree of wisdom about the world, the social world. And as a social scientist, he doesn't talk as a social scientist, but as a social scientist, I'm a social scientist. I definitely appreciate his willingness to look at the INTJ in context to the social world. I find so many people unwilling to do that in the Myers-Briggs world, and I'm just like, that's so incomplete. But nonetheless, so I'm giving him his props. I've only disagreed with him one time, and that was playfully. It was an episode where he said something about the mastermind not being real. I'm like, no, buddy. The mastermind is very real, but we're going to have to delineate between capital M mastermind and lowercase m mastermind. So I did a video on that, and that was fun, right? But this video that I'm going to respond to, I really want to challenge him. And I really, really want to challenge him. And because I think that if an INTJ listens to that, I think that that video could cause some harm. And so I want to do the challenge. I probably shouldn't be doing this on the YouTube space because I only give myself 15 minutes to record. And so YouTube would represent more shorter reflections. And my podcast, I'm long form. It goes between an hour and a half. And I probably need an hour and a half to process my critique, my poking of his advice, INTJs, on having a better social life. We're going to try to do it in one or two recordings, okay? And I welcome anybody who wants to push back on me to do so. I embrace that now because I listened to it last night, and yesterday was just a bad day, and it was just a very difficult day. So I knew when I listened to it last night, I was in my emotions. So at the end of his content, at the end of that video, he says something about the Ben Franklin effect. Now I'm going to talk about that, but I made a comment. So I said, in the comment section, I wrote, the Ben Franklin effect can go to hell. And I said, the Ben Franklin effect can go to hell. And then I wrote, an audio response is coming soon. Like, I'm coming to get you, INTJ-Jon. And I recorded it. And I found that in the 15 minutes of that recording, I kept saying, just no. Like, I would take something that he would said, and then I would try to respond to it, and all I could go was, just no. I couldn't really get out a lot. So that meant there was a lot of emotion in me last night. And we have INTJs, we have emotion. We just don't value that. And so what I did was I went and said, just sit on this. Don't release. Don't do this recording over. And go and delete that comment about the Ben Franklin effect can go to hell. That is so funny. And so I'm up this morning to do the reflection in a less emotionally charged or sensitive way. You know, INTJs, we're mushy on the inside. There's that FI thing. And my FI last night was just like, no, just no. So anyway, I just have a few minutes left, and all I'm going to do in this particular 15-minute clip, because like I said, I limit this to 15 minutes, is all I'm going to be able to do in this clip is to kind of introduce the conversation. And so this is I have my very first real criticism of INTJ-Jon, and I think he talks about criticism around how INTJs do criticism with the TE, and he says you got to make 2 compliments first, and then you can give the criticism. And I like that. I usually call it a compliment sandwich. You got to say something positive, then you slip in something constructive, and then you end it. But I can go with having 2 positives and a negative. Whether you do 2 on the front end or 1, that positive intro, whether it's 1 or 2, must be at the same level of depth and brevity. I think I want to say brevity, but anyway, of the critique. A lot of times I've seen people who do the compliment sandwich, like they say something positive, then they say something negative, and then they end with something positive. That negative middle piece is all detailed and robust, and then the compliment is just very surface and elementary, and I'm like, no. So anyway, so I hope that my other videos responses to him constitutes the positives, and know so that I hope and trust that if he listens to this, because I know he has listened to one or two of my videos before. I don't know if he's listened to all of them, and he doesn't have to, but if he listens to this one and he hears the criticism, I'm not going to give you the positives, the two up on the front end, although I agree with you, that should be done. I trust that my other videos that I've done on you and singing your praises, I trust that constitutes the intro to my compliment sandwich. So anyway, and honestly, the criticism to this video that I want to make, I'm going to just do it in a part 2. The criticism to this video that I want to make is, it really is about a lack of context. I think, when I step back away from the emotionality of it all, I think what is underneath that is that there are a lot of yeah buts, and that the buts are located in the context. And here's what I believe. And this is why I probably am going to do I am doing the criticism, because I think INTJs, I don't mean to sound like you have victim mindset, but I think that INTJs are are complicated creatures because we don't fit in the social world. And I agree with INTJ-Jon that we do need help to better fit in the social world and to have social relationships so we don't, like INTJ-Jon says, die alone, right? But you can't do that work without understanding how the social world created us. And that's complicated, right? Because are we nature nurture? And I think we're a combination of both. And there is something about who we are as INTJs that are reactive, responsive to the outer social world. And the other part is that the video, it lacked context. And I think it was void of INTJ-ness. I think it was more responsive to our behavior and not as much as our motivations. And here's a better way of saying it. I think his video was in response to our defense mechanisms, or the underdeveloped INTJ or the immature INTJ. And it doesn't really speak to some of our motivations when we're on the healthier, developed side. There it is. That's what it was. And so for him to speak broadly about INTJs, I just don't think it was a fair representation. Now, if he was, and I've heard him do this in other videos, talking about younger INTJs, underdeveloped INTJs, but he did not qualify that. The only qualified point that he made, which was necessary, was about gender, and I don't think that was complete. I think that was incomplete. So I have a number of criticisms about this one. And INTJ-Jon, if you listen to it, I still think you're amazing. But no, just no on this one, okay? All right, I'll be back. Hey, you guys, if this reflection has had any value for you, even though it's incomplete, it's part 1, please do give it a heart. If you have a love affair with INTJ-Jon, as I do, and I'm talking metaphorically because I've never met the man, my reflection relates to a conversation you've had in the world about him, feel free to take this link and share it with those participants. And if my moving about has caused some randomness in you, I'd love to hear it. You can find me on my website at yournidom.wordpress.com, or check out my long form reflections on the podcast anywhere at yournidom. And let me just say this to the INTJ-Jon. I'm sorry if I'm centering you and making you uncomfortable, because that is not, at the end of the day, I have true respect for you, which is why I'm giving you this feedback. And you may not hear it, but I really do respect you. So, hey, I'm going to come back to do the part 2. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you all. Until I come back, be well. Bye.